Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards here, and today I'm doing another video where I'm going to show off some vintage magazines from my father-in-law's collection, which he gave to our family before he passed away, and I pair them up with vintage cards from my collection. And I like doing this because, as I've mentioned in another video, that it really shows how players were thought of during that time if they're placed on the covers of magazines. And I like that because it gives me a glimpse into that era, furthermore than just what the cards would show me. But I also like that it really makes for a nice presentation piece when you put the card next to the magazine cover. So with that, the first one that I'm showing today is an October 1953 Sport magazine with this beautiful photo of Brooklyn Dodgers catcher Roy Campanella staring at his bat. And I really love how he's holding it with his knocking knuckles aligned, which is at least how I show my kids to hit in Little League. And I like that he's looking like he's about to step out of the dugout and take batting practice. Now the caption in the corner is a very telling one of how he was viewed at the time. It says, Roy Campanella, legend in the making. You can see that in the upper right corner. Now Campanella already had one MVP to his credit and was on his way to winning his second of three in 1953. He had arguably his finest season that year with 41 home runs, a league-leading 142 RBIs in just 144 games, and he hit .312. He would go on to win 3 MVPs in his Hall of Fame career. Here's a close-up view of his 1952 Bowman card. Now this card, to me, has a lot of things going for it. As my friend in the hobby, Alex at Bowman 53, would say, this is a cloud card with the beautiful blue sky and white fluffy clouds behind him. You see Roy here in his vibrant blue Brooklyn Dodgers cap, his baggy uniform showing several folds as his arms swing the bat to his left shoulder. Now, I love also the vintage advertising behind him that was commonplace at stadiums of the day. This is really just a fantastic glimpse into 50s baseball on this card, and really a lot of the elements that I love. The next magazine I want to show is this December 1951 Sport magazine with Johnny Lujack, starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears, on the cover. Now he has one of those names that to me just sounds like a 50s football player. Love that last name. And the first thing that captures my attention in this photo is the black open-face helmet with a loose strap below his chin. You can see the white stitching holding the leather together. Now the caption reads on the cover, Lujack makes the Bears go. In 1951, Lujack was 3 years into earning the starting quarterback job from the legendary Sid Luckman, who was the greatest quarterback in Bears history. He only played 4 seasons in the NFL, but Lujack was All-Pro in 1950 and made 2 Pro Bowls. Now he was a very gifted athlete who led the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns with 23 in 1949 and rushing touchdowns in 1950 with 11. He retired from the NFL after the 51 season at just 26 years old to help coach at Notre Dame. Now here is his 1951 Bowman example, which is my favorite of his. Now just look at the large Bears logo next to the image of Lujack getting ready to throw a pass. There's something timeless and really elegant to me about this card. Now for those of you who may not know, Lujack was a legend at Notre Dame and arguably the school's greatest player, and believe me, there were many of them. He was a 2-time All-American and the Heisman Trophy winner in 1947. He was a star of 3 national championship teams, and amazingly, he never lost a game in his college career. Next, we have the May 1964 Sport magazine depicting a 43-year-old Warren Spahn in the twilight of his career. Now, they're asking on the cover of this magazine, is Spahn the greatest pitcher ever? Certainly a fair question, I think, at that time. The crafty lefty was coming off a 1963 season where he was 23-7 with a 2.60 ERA in 22 complete games. He was 42 years old at the time. He retired with 363 wins, which is the most of any pitcher outside of the dead ball era. He also lost 3 full seasons to service in World War II. He was a remarkable pitcher who, in my view, is very underappreciated. Now here's the card that kids would have been pulling from the packs at this time. You see the weather-faced Spahn with the classic Braves uniform showing off his pitching grip with the vibrant green Braves lettering on the top and the matching strip on the bottom. Just a really wonderful image with the blue sky in the background, and just love those old Braves uniforms, and you can see the patch on his sleeve peeking out there. Love this card of his. Next, we have an All-Star Sports magazine from 1971 featuring two greats of the day, in Frank Howard and the Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson. Now, Frank Howard, who stood at 6'7", is a player I've been reading more about lately. I've really developed an appreciation for his career, especially his seasons between 1968 and 1970 with the Washington Senators. Now, he was a late bloomer at the age of 31, becoming a dominant offensive force during those years on some very bad Senators teams. In an offensive-starved era, he led the league in home runs with 44 in 1968 and 44 in 1970. He also happened to hit a career-high 48 home runs in 1969 as well. He lived up to one of the coolest nicknames, in my opinion, in baseball history, the Capital Punisher. Now, the other person on the cover of this magazine, of course, is Reggie Jackson, and he was a star from the day he entered in the league, but 71 was the year the A's were putting it together as they made their first of 5 consecutive postseason appearances. Though they lost to the Orioles in the ALCS in 1971, they would go on to win 3 World Series. Here's a closer look at these two beautiful cards. I'm a big fan of the 71 top set with the black borders. I really like how they show in the PSA holders. Now, Howard, he's the more recent pickup I made. I just picked this card up a couple weeks ago. And I added it because I think it really captures him well with those large glasses, which were really his trademark of his at that time. And then this Reggie card's really cool because it's the last card showing Reggie with a baby face. Every one of his cards after this featured him with facial hair. And I just love those classic 70 A's uniforms of the time. So these are really two cards that I, of course, am thrilled to have in my collection. In celebration of the Super Bowl being this week, here is the January 1975 Sports Illustrated celebrating the Steelers' first Super Bowl victory. Now on the cover, you have a bearded Bradshaw pointing his way to victory. Also shown next to it is the January 1975 Sport magazine of the opposing quarterback in Super Bowl IX, Fran Tarkenton. Now the game was originally supposed to be played in the Louisiana Superdome, but at that time the Superdome wasn't finished. Instead, it was played at nearby Tulane Stadium on a cold, rainy afternoon that you likely would never see on a Super Bowl today. And the Steelers beat the Vikings 16-6. It had more to do with the running of Super Bowl MVP Franco Harris and the Steel Curtain defense that held Fran Tarkenton to 11 of 26 passing for 103 yards and 3 interceptions. Now here are the 1974 cards, which would have been available at the time of that Super Bowl, of Terry Bradshaw, and then a very attractive 74 All-Pro card with the black inset there on the top of Fran Tarkenton in game action. And that's how the All-Pro cards looked in 1974. And then the base cards had like this field goal going around the outer part of the card. And just really two nice images that capture this important era of history, because this was the first of the Steelers' 4 Super Bowls and was really the start of establishing Terry Bradshaw as a legendary quarterback. So that's all I have for today. I just wanted to show off some of these great magazines and cards, and I really do appreciate your time for watching. And always appreciate the comments and likes, and just really enjoy the back and forth that I have with everybody in this community. So everybody have a great day, and we'll talk soon.